Hey, it's Jason again. If you made it through my first video, congratulations. As you can tell, a bit of a low production exercise here. I have a toddler, so it's this or it's nothing. I don't have the time nor the natural talent for super high production value, but I hope the content is interesting to everybody. I love tasting whiskey. I want to talk a bit about tasting whiskey. We're going to do this in a few steps, and I want to do this at the beginning because as you watch my videos, if they're worth watching, you can enjoy whiskey as you do it. So first of all, just really briefly, I want to talk about, in general, how we'd appreciate whiskey and how we taste it. Then I'm going to post another video, which is a bit of a discussion. If that bores you, you can skip it. I'm going to post another video on how I approach judging competitions, not because it's necessarily super relevant, but is very interesting. So this is a bit of a three-part series. First of all, I just want to talk broadly about how we taste whiskey, and it's really not that complicated. So first of all, if you're just tasting it to enjoy whiskey, do whatever you need to to enjoy the whiskey. If you're looking to actually appreciate whiskey and I guess peek a bit under the hood, you would look at it from a few different angles. So in a very quick summary way, I'll talk about it, and then I can get more into detail in the next video if you're interested. So I have poured myself a glass of Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye, which is a whiskey that I quite enjoy. Some people don't enjoy, but I enjoy. So when we're assessing a whiskey, we look at three things generally, and this is the same as if we were assessing a wine. You assess the nose, which is how it smells. You assess the palate, which is how it tastes. And then you assess the finish, which is what happens after you swallow. And it's as simple as that. And really, if you just take a look at those three components and you practice, eventually you'll get to, a bit more depth in all that stuff, and not that complicated. We've been doing this our whole lives. So on the nose, really all you're doing is smelling the whiskey. It's as simple as that. You do notice a bit more if your mouth is open, so that's the only tip I'll give on nosing. And the other tip that I'll give on nosing, but this applies to whiskey tasting in general, is the more you do it, the better you become at it. And that is really true. It's a bit surprising how senses can develop with time, but it does happen. So that's the nosing step. And really all you're looking for here is what flavors are there, and then what's happening, which are not necessarily the same thing. So sometimes the flavors work really well together, you might get a whole breadth. Sometimes you have different things evolve over time, but that's the nosing step. Then we'd move on to tasting. So on the tasting step, all you're doing is looking at what flavors are there and what's happening in my mouth. It's kind of as simple as that. And then the finish, it's really what's happening after I swallow. So the way I would approach this, if you're new at this, is the first time, taste it first, and then the second taste, just look for two things on the nose. So I'm tasting Northern Harvest Rye right now, and I'm going to go broad here. And I'm going to say there's dried fruit here and there's spice here. That's as far as I'm going to go the first time. On the taste, I'll look for two things as well. So I suggest just start with 2, 2, 2. So two things on the nose, two things on the taste. On the taste, on this one, I taste dried apricot, and then I taste licorice. And then on the finish, I get some vanilla, and then I also get fennel, like the spice fennel. There's a lot more than that you can get, but kind of as you're starting, just look for two things on the nose, two things on the palate, two things on the finish. And then I'd go at it again, and then this time don't focus so much on flavors, but focus on the story, like what's happening. So in this case, I am looking at a whiskey that is, there's just a lot going on. You have these different, very broad flavor categories that are all kind of, I'd say, fighting with each other. On the taste, you have, it's starting out sweet, transitioning to spicy. As you kind of transition to spicy, you get a textural element, and you get this kind of tannic structure that comes in that kind of puckers and dries out your mouth. And that transitions into a finish, which starts spicy and then actually kind of softens and sweetens over time. So it's almost, it starts soft and sweet, kind of goes to this fruity spice, and then actually ends up opening up to soft and sweet at the end. So that's kind of a brief picture of kind of the Crown Royal Northern Horse Rye. So if you start there, really simple, and then if you keep trying, you'll notice, 2 isn't enough. So I need a few more descriptors on the nose, and you'll notice as you taste more and more whiskey that the story of the whiskey changes, and the resolution at which you kind of observe that story changes. And on the finish, you'll notice as well, there's space for more description. So that's kind of it. That's how we appreciate whiskey. One tip I forgot, which is really important, is when you're tasting. I do this naturally now. Breathe out through your nose with your mouth closed. What that does is it brings all the aromas that are in your mouth back through the back channel, up through your nose, which is really how humans are best fit to taste and smell, because most of our taste happens through smell, and most of it happens through the back nasal passage, which happens when you close your mouth and breathe out your nose. If you eat a chip and breathe in with your mouth closed and then breathe out with your mouth closed and see where you notice the flavor, you'll notice it's when you breathe out. So that also really, really helps. But beyond that, it's pretty simple, and most of it comes down to kind of paying attention and taking time with it. So that's where I'm going to leave it on the introductory taste. And if you're interested to hear more, there's some follow-up videos coming. So thanks for tuning in.